This is Red Podcast, episode number 238. Lewis Howes has a new book. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective, a marketing perspective. That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast. How to reach more people, establish your authority, and deliver your message. Here's your host, David Hooper.
A few years ago, I was in Las Vegas. I was doing some work out there. And during that time, my company, it was run by a woman in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I was the face of the company. She was the one that kept me and everything else organized. While I was in Las Vegas, there happened to be an event that she wanted to attend. So she said, why don't I come out to Las Vegas? You can attend this event with me if you want to. But regardless, this is a good time for us to catch up in person and go over some stuff that we need to. So I said, okay, yeah, sign me up for the event. We went, 500 women there, 2 men. I was one of them. That's where I first saw Lewis Howes. He was doing something with LinkedIn at the time. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was his focus, very business-oriented. Fast forward to today. He's a successful podcaster. He's got a podcast called School of Greatness. By the way, everything that I mentioned in this episode is going to be linked in the episode notes, redpodcast.com/238 for those. He's a New York Times best-selling author. The book, also called School of Greatness, and he's got a new book out. It's called Mask of Masculinity, How Men Can Embrace Vulnerability, Create Strong Relationships, and Live Their Fullest Lives. On this episode, I'm going to be looking at Mask of Masculinity from a different perspective. Not going to be talking about embracing vulnerability so much as I'm going to be talking about this book as a marketing tool. This is the Red Podcast, the podcast for experts. If you're a blogger, podcaster, an authority in your marketplace, you're an expert with a message to spread, you want people to care about what you're doing, and you want people to pay you for it, this is the podcast for you. This episode is brought to you by createyourlist.com. I thought email was dead. I thought social media was taking over. And it is big, but it hasn't killed off email. Email, in fact, is still the number one way to market yourself and your business. If you need to build your list, if you need to expand your list, as Lewis says, if you need to create strong relationships, you want to do that via an email list, this is the resource for you. createyourlist.com. It's free. It's going to tell you what's working now when it comes to email marketing. It's going to show you how to build a list that you can be proud of. To get this resource free of charge, go to createyourlist.com. The Mask of Masculinity, How Men Can Embrace Vulnerability, Create Strong Relationships, and Live Their Fullest Lives. It's published by Rodale. This is a company to watch when it comes to good marketing. You may have seen Thug Kitchen. You know, I'm vegetarian, vegan in my household. I love Thug Kitchen. It's a vegan book with a bite. Not only does it have tasty recipes, it's also got great copy, a great sense of humor. There are 3 volumes, Thug Kitchen 1, 2, and 3. The first one alone, over 1 million copies sold. Rodale is the publisher. They're doing a great job with Thug Kitchen. They're doing a great job with Lewis as well. That's one of the reasons to check this book out, the marketing. Another reason to check it out, the marketing lessons within the book itself. This is not a marketing book. It's more self-development. That seems to be Lewis's current direction. No longer LinkedIn, no longer about networking as much as he is being your best self. That's a marketing lesson in itself. If you can get in these general markets, that is how you go big. The problem is it's very hard to be considered an expert in a general market such as self-development. Of course, Lewis has had lots of help from Rodale, and I'm assuming a lot of other people. Let's talk about what he's done to get the word out about himself and this book. A lot of media. He was just on Good Morning America, the top-rated morning show across the country. He's been on Ellen talking about this. He's done 3 different things that I think have made for an effective launch. There's been an online push, Facebook, other social media, mailing lists, podcasts. There's been an offline push. He's had multiple launch parties across the country. He's also had what I call a celebrity association push. I don't know if it's directly through him or through Rodale, maybe a little bit of both. Somebody's gotten Lewis connected with celebrities in this self-development space. They're all endorsing the book. If you look at the back cover, it's got the usual blurbs that you're going to see on any major book. Alanis Morissette, Dr. Drew, Gretchen Rubin. You may have read her book, The Happiness Project. So he's got that. But the other thing that I've seen him do is he's got celebrities with photos of themselves and the book, giving that endorsement on their social media channels. So that's a nice push. You've got these celebrities with huge followings on social media, and they've got pictures of themselves holding Lewis's book. Not a bad way to get the word out about what you're doing. Even if you are not in the general market, even if you're not on national media, you don't have these general celebrities that are endorsing your book, there's still a lot of great lessons here, things that you can learn by watching guys like Lewis that have access to this national media and access to these general celebrities. For one, let's break down the launch. There was media, there's online, there's offline, and again, what I call celebrity association. You, as a niche expert, let's talk about how to do it on your level. First of all, the media, general media, if you were to go on Good Morning America as a niche expert, let's say you're like me, you're a marketing person working in a very specific market. Not with everybody, you're working with very specific people. General media, let's say I were to go on Good Morning America, it's a huge audience, no doubt. It's the number one early morning show in the country. But for somebody like me, for somebody like you, who's focusing on a niche market, 99% of the people that are watching that show, it's a waste because what you do doesn't apply to them. 1%, maybe. And that's just because they happen to catch a general show. You would be much better off when it comes to your media, when you're trying to launch something, to be where 100% of your people are. For me, let's say it's podcasters. If I'm on stage at Podcast Movement speaking to 1,500 people, those 1,500 people are engaged. Those 1,500 people want to talk about podcasting. Those 1,500 people have come from all over the country to do just that. And me, as somebody who actually helps people with media, specifically podcasting, that is a much better audience than Mildred and Roy from Kansas. Don't think big, think focused. Be where 100% of your people are. Let's talk about online. When you're focused, you can appear to be everywhere without actually being everywhere. Your group, there are only so many people that they follow. And if you go to those people, how many is it? 5, 10, 50? 50 people, that's going to make you appear everywhere. Much harder if you're trying to get a message across the entire country. This is sort of what Lewis is doing with his celebrity association. He's got a fitness background. He appeals to people that are trying to be better. Some of those people are trying to be better with their fitness. He can go to those few influencers within the fitness space, have just those few people endorse his book, and it appears to all the people participating in that fitness space, watching these influencers, that he's everywhere. You have that same opportunity with your launch. Find out who these online influencers within your community, within your market are, and get connected with them. Offline, same thing. Be everywhere. My background is in the music industry. Let me give you a couple stories. One, if I were trying to get a record deal for a band that I was working with, maybe a gig, here's what I would do. I would find out if I were trying to get a record deal for a band that I worked with, and I wanted the band that I worked with to appear to be very successful, here's what I would do. I would find out where the guy with signing power worked, specifically where his office was, where he was during the day. I would find out where he hung out. I would find out where he lived. And my company actually did this, not with record labels, but we would do this with bands that we were trying to get booked. We would do it with booking agents. If you know where somebody works, if you know where somebody hangs out, if you know where somebody lives, you could flyer where they work, you could advertise where they work, you could advertise where they hang out, flyer where they hang out, advertise where they live, flyer where they live. If you know the paths that they take between those places, you can advertise and flyer in between those places. This is no different than tracking pixels online. With a tracking pixel, somebody goes to a specific site. It basically cookies them and follows them around the internet. So when they're going to Instagram, they're going to see your ads. Facebook, see your ads. Various other social media sites, various other non-social media sites that advertise at this level, they're all going to see you. That's how you be everywhere. It's not actually being everywhere, but it's targeting the very specific people that you're trying to reach and taking your message to them. Another huge lesson from inside this book is how the book is organized. This is a great template for you. Again, even if you're not in a general market like Lewis is, you're in a more specific, niche down market, you can still use this type of organization for your book. And the reason it's such a great template and the reason it's going to work for you in your market is because it does such a great job of labeling and identifying people. That sounds harsh, and I get it, because people say that they don't like labels. But we do like labels. We like labels because we want to know where we belong. We like boundaries because it lets us know where we are in the world. I want you to think about this joke. An atheist, a vegan, and a CrossFitter walk into a bar. And the reason I know this is because they told everybody within 2 minutes. Now, that could be anybody. You probably met somebody in AA, certainly working in the music business I did, that or another 12-step program. They're going to let you know. That's how they identify. Christians, that's how they identify. People who do yoga, that's how they identify. And people who do yoga do different types of yoga. So if you're an Iyengar yoga person, and the other person is doing Bikram yoga, and the other person is doing Ashtanga yoga, and the other person does Vinyasa yoga, those people have a battle every time they meet each other. It's liberating when people find out where they belong. You may have had a gay friend, he's in the closet, then he's not in the closet. He's out of the closet. And not only is he out of the closet, he's on the gay softball team. His Facebook profile picture is superimposed on a gay flag. He's got the bumper sticker. It's what I call the gay pride stage. And the gay pride stage isn't just for gay people. It's for all of us when we find where we belong. Lewis's book does this for men. And if you're male, you're going to connect with at least one of the masks, one of the identities that he has listed. The stoic mask, the athlete mask, the material mask, the sexual mask, the aggressive mask, the joker mask, the invincible mask, the know-it-all mask, the alpha mask. This book, The Mask of Masculinity, something I was curious about when he announced the title a few months ago, let everybody know that it was coming out. Lewis Howes appears to have a disproportionate amount of female fans. So why would he do a book called The Mask of Masculinity, a book for men? The answer to that is because this book isn't just for men. Every female knows men who fall into the 9 categories that I just mentioned. So for a female, this book is going to help her understand those men. She's got a father that she didn't connect with, maybe. She wants to understand him better. A boss that she needs help getting along with. A boyfriend, a husband that she wants to learn more about. This book is going to help her. And for you, this is another reason that you might want to get this book. This book is going to also help you understand these men. This conversation, it's happening within the heads of the men that you're marketing to. As a side note, many of the men profiled in this book are top marketers. So you're going to learn about these identities from a couple of perspectives. Something about the men doing the marketing, as well as something about the men that are being marketed to. So overall, when you consider Lewis's launch, his marketing, what he's doing to get this book out, and when you consider the lessons that you can learn from within the book about identity and how we identify ourselves and how your customers are identifying themselves, I think when you look at this book from that perspective, it's absolutely worth checking out. So is Lewis. If you're not watching top experts like him, even if they're in the general market, you should be. I've got links to everything I discussed in the episode notes, redpodcast.com/238. If you don't like to read, there's an audio version of this book available. You can get that for free with a trial from Audible. I've got the link in the episode notes, redpodcast.com/238. Coming up on the next Red Podcast, we've had a lot of racial tension in the United States lately. Of course, this is nothing new. This country was founded on racial tension. And there's a lot that you can learn when it comes to marketing. Next episode, I've got some material. You're not going to believe this. It's a marketing film that's subversive. It's controversial. But when I tell you the story behind it, it's all going to click into place for you, and you're going to understand why it was made and how it can help you as a marketer. That's next on Red Podcast. If you want to make sure that you don't miss it, subscribe. Go to redpodcast.com in the top left. You can subscribe via Android, iPhone. There's a Red Podcast app. You can listen via the web. One click is all it takes to subscribe. It's free, it's instant, and it's easy. You'll never miss an episode. If you've got questions and comments, reach out to me at David Hooper on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening to Red Podcast. I'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Red Podcast. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.